Are you ready? Okay. So we're Warp 5, and I am Andres.
I'm David.
Marco.
Daniel. Nick. And we're working with Warp 9, which is a company based in Santa Barbara who are experts in e-commerce. So we work with a platform called Magento. It's an e-commerce platform that is very versatile and very powerful at the expense of some complexity. So if you can see the complexity, there's a lot of options in there. There's a lot of layers of customization in Magento. Go ahead.
Yeah, so as of now, 90% of Magento users don't have a mobile presence because, frankly, it's kind of hard to set that up if you're not, I guess, a programmer. And even if you are, it's still pretty difficult. So what we're hoping to accomplish with our tool is to automate a lot of the things our company, Warp9, does, and hopefully take something that takes them, 45 minutes up to an hour, and be able to do that in 5 minutes.
And also, just as a point, it takes their professional Magento developers that have been working for years on it, 45 minutes to an hour, but anybody that just tried to pick up Magento, ideally once we scale this to something beyond just a work tool for the company that we're working for, for those developers it would take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours of automating the process in 5 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, so we're doing the demo now. So he's going to SSH into this hosted website just for 10 kids. We got that from Warp9. And
Very appropriate.
Yeah.
so what we're going to do is set up their mobile site. So currently they don't have one. And if you try to get onto it, it would show you the basic layout, but probably take out most of the content, I think, and say that there's no content.
No, we'll just show you this.
Oh, that's what it
Yeah,
was? Okay.
yeah, we should show you this.
Yeah, it would
I guess
directly,
we're just working with the default. The default is different. So,
Right.
so let's SSH into the server and then pull our code from GitHub. And can you make it bigger or different colors so they can see what you're doing? At least this one, the terminal.
Oh, the terminal? Okay. Sorry, that's something I didn't think of.
turn off that's much better.
Is that better? Can you guys hear?
It may be larger, but so I'll just continue though.
Yeah, I guess. Here, just put it on. Yeah, there we go.
Okay,
There we go. Okay. And
so he's got the code from GitHub, and then
sorry. There we go. So I'm gonna get the code now.
And with that, we have our Warp 5 project folder, and that goes inside of the Magento directory. Once we change into the Warp 5 project folder, we'll run Mobilize, which is the script that we wrote. Actually, before that, we have to do composer install, which installs a bunch of dependencies.
It's all the README.
For selects, which is the command structure for Mobilize that allows us to do these arguments. So in it is our first argument. In the description here, but it'll set up the mobile site, and once it's done, it should switch from, this is a desktop, it'll switch to the default mobile site. So the 3 steps that it does is create the store view, design change, and set the HT access to let us know that it's a mobile accessing. And then other commands we have, I guess Daniel will talk about.
One big feature that we have is a command called customize. What it allows us to do is it allows us to go to make specific changes on the mobile website and customize it for the install on those ideals. how we do this is by using an extension called Less. Less is a CSS preprocessor that allows us to add much more functionality to CSS, and the one really big feature that we need is the usage of variables, and we can't, as you see, we have a few variables already, foreground, background, email, copyright, and text. All we need to do is assign a RGB value to any of these, and we can change the color on the mobile websites. And basically what happens is after we save our changes to customize, the cache cleans itself and adds in the values that we've made the changes to. And then, so that, because of that, the changes we made show up on the website immediately. In the future, what we're planning to do is, right now we can only change the colors, but in the future, we hope to change the fonts and the images on the mobile websites.
And we can visit the site if you want to confirm that it's working. Demo that right off.
In addition to this functionality, we have a couple more functions and some functions that currently work, and we want to expand on those functionalities within those arguments. One of the main things that I'm going to talk about is enable and disable. And what these functions do is basically after we have called initialize and we've created a store change and we've added the code to the htaccess file, then you can call disable, which will remove the code from the htaccess file, and it will disable the store view, it'll disable this design change, sorry, so that it will redirect when you go to the URL. It will redirect again to the desktop theme. Or what we're planning to implement in terms of functionality for next quarter is ideally we want to have potentially multiple mobile themes that we can switch between, and we can disable one theme and switch to another mobile theme seamlessly. So in addition to the enable and a modification that we made to disable recently, just this last sprint, was before, after initialize, and disable is only functioning after initialize and disable. Now they all function completely independently. You don't have to do one first, otherwise the other one will break it or anything like that. And some of that had to do with removing code specifically in the htaccess file, which is what I was working on for the script. So yeah, that's the functionality that we have this quarter. In terms of next quarter, I'm sure Andres and anybody else in the team can explain a little bit more of this as well. But we want to be able to, as Daniel said, change more than just the colors. And as I also mentioned, we want to be able to change. We want to have multiple theme options for when you install your theme and let you be able to seamlessly change in between that.
And the final main thing that we want to work on next quarter is to make a UI for this, just so that it's easier to use. Hopefully we can get to making a UI that can be used not just by Warp9 developers, but also by anyone who has a Magento store. Any questions?
No
I think
questions?
that's a good thing.
I have a question. So, yeah, what do you think the biggest technical challenges you think remaining for you? What's the biggest risk factor for being able to have your project complete?
Well, I'm sure he can answer that, but before I say what's remaining, I would like to say in terms of technical challenge, I think the biggest thing this quarter was learning and understanding Magento as a tool. That really took over half of the quarter, really understanding it, and that's just a tool that's used so that you can host a website through e-commerce, and it's typically just for desktop. So that, as we mentioned, I believe over 90% of Magento users, be them developers making sites for someone else or somebody who just has some technical expertise and wanted to host their own site and isn't actually normally a coder. Most of the people that use it only have desktop themes. And so that just learning that tool that had a huge steep learning curve, like even for people with a technical background, and then automating the processes for installing certain dependencies and themes necessary for Magento, that in and of itself was a lot of labor. But in terms of what we're doing at Program Trailers.
So I think the main challenge is coming ahead of us is to figure out how we can make the job easier of having a mobile site that is customized just how you want it. So for example, we began work on this command called list colors, which lists the colors of all the colors inside the desktop theme. So we figured if we can list all the colors in the desktop theme, then we can give a drop-down once we have the UI to the user to be able to change the colors in the mobile site using the colors in the desktop theme. But it turns out that there's actually a lot of colors in the desktop theme, right? So how are we going to filter these or sort them in a way that's going to be useful for the user? That's one challenge, for example. So the general challenges are going to be how can we make this even more useful for the users, allow them to customize it and make their job faster.
So is it really, there's a sea of information that the user sort of has to wade through, and they have to be able to select what the most important parts are.
Yeah.
So how can you most effectively guide them, either through
Exactly.
UI or through some clever algorithms to help you figure out, okay, this is where you should spend your time.
Right. A sea of information and a sea of options of ways that you can do things. How can we guide them?
Two things you might consider looking at would be A, clustering. This kind of seems like kind of a clustering problem. There's a bunch of techniques for clustering. And then there's another technique called design galleries, which is a way for you to sort of see and select amongst many different options without actually having to go in and like manually set things. But the technique's called design galleries. You might take a look at that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
All right, thanks guys.